Welcome back to the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. We have tonight Mike Kuhn, Thad Bell. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Doing well, living the dream.
Just back from kids soccer practice. That had to be fun.
It for as weird times as we're in, it felt good to just get back out there and do something I enjoy to do, which is coach soccer. So it was, if nothing else, it felt really good to get back out there and do something normal, as you would put it.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Like 3 or 4 weeks ago, whenever the tryouts were, it was just nice to be out there with kids playing soccer. Even though it wasn't real teams, they were just playing. So that was good to have like that little sense of normalcy.
Definitely.
We had to stand well away from the fields and blah blah blah, but still,
I did wear my mask the whole time, so I'm trying to stay safe at the same time.
good. We don't need any of us getting too ill. Um, I don't know how to segue from not feeling too ill and go into last night's game without doing something probably too
Without
big.
being without making a stereotypical segue about the play last night.
Yeah, I just could have thought of that one well ahead of time, but no. Uh, all right, I'm sure anybody who's watching this knows the result of the game last night. 0-0 draw, 360 shots on goal, something like that, right? I'm close, right?
Pretty
Um,
close.
just by a factor of 10. Um, but anyway, 36 shots to I think it was 8, something like that. Um, Sporting outplayed them in every category except scoring. Just do you have any like? Let's see if you got one good thing and one bad thing that comes right to mind.
Uh, I mean, the one good thing, you can never go wrong when you have the. I'll put it this way: I have my opinion, but you can't go wrong with arguably the best penalty kick saving goalkeeper in MLS. At least right now, the best penalty saving goalkeeper. I will hear arguments for Ramondo. I just think Melia is better at this point than Ramondo was at his peak. The good part is, even with all the concerns that I had as the game was going on, you could feel comfortable going into the shootout, knowing that you had Melia in there to do what he does. Basically, I guess is the best way to do it. As for the bad part, it felt like it was a return to 2011 and 2012 Sporting out on the field, where we were getting a lot of shots, taking a lot of shots, but we spent a lot of time just making a lot of hopeful crosses, I guess would be the best way to put it,
Yeah,
that didn't really come to anything.
yeah. I mean, I will say that I'm a little more positive than that part from you. Which is not far off though. There's lots of crosses. I do feel like there was a lot of attempts to move them out of the way and get the ball in there. But the thing is, the Santos has them coached very well. They were a very solid defensive team, and um, their keeper had to make several very good saves.
No, that is a fair point. Asal play
Yeah,
was absolutely fantastic. Second professional start, I believe. I don't think I know it was his second start for the Whitecaps. I'm not positive it was his second professional start. I didn't actually look that up, but at least his second start with the Whitecaps. We do know that much. I do know that much, and he
but
just played.
second in MLS.
Yes, he played absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
And I mean, Kinda had the early header that he got down well for. Um, was it Espinoza that had the long shot from distance that he had made a
yeah,
good save on? He second half he got that touch on Polito's shot that he turned into the post. I mean, he played a fantastic game, and all credit to him. He looked well, and at the same time, Kansas City made him look like an all-star a little bit too. I mean, you can say Asal played very well, but at the same time, Kansas City did about just as much to make him look better than he might actually be.
Well, because I forget did he make 8 saves, right?
Yeah,
So half of those were very good saves. A couple of them were pretty damn good. I think a couple of them were pretty routine because, but he still had to make a couple of really good saves. Sporting did shoot how many into the upper deck, if there was an upper deck, from point blank range.
yeah. Well,
Johnny,
Johnny had a couple. Busio had one. I think Kinda had a couple.
Yeah. Kendo's shooting has went downhill since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, yeah. He looked really, really good. Those first two games, he hasn't looked as good since the restart. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not looked good since the restart of play.
No, and this is when Kendo was as good as he was those first two games. It's like, yeah, Felipe, he's hurt, so what, right? I'm kind of kidding there, but now it's like, man, we could really use Felipe in there because he would have been that offensive spark they could have perhaps needed.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it was a very frustrating game to watch, and at the same time, it was also predictable, I guess would be a good way to put it, just because it's been it's been the running joke, I guess, since the Sporting rebrand that Sporting takes a lot of shots but doesn't convert a whole lot, and that was what happened. What happened tonight, or not tonight, last night when we, well, I guess technically early this morning
Yes.
in the game.
No, and that has always. I mean, it's been a positive that they create a lot of chances. The negative has been they don't finish a lot of chances. But I mean, that changed in 2018. That kind of came back some in 2019. But in 2020, we have a $9 million player. That guy is supposed to help finish those chances a little more often than, he's got 3 goals. 2 of those came in the first 2 games. He's got a penalty. He needs to
And
finish a couple more.
yeah, well, and that was another point that I was going to make is Polito missed some, I don't want to say really good. They weren't fantastic chances, but I mean, they're ones that you pay a forward 9 million, you pay $10 million, you pay 8 figures for a forward to be a poacher and poke one of those into the goal, basically.
Yeah.
You pay the guys to do that, and he had 2 or 3 that were more or less poacher type finishes that he just couldn't turn on frame.
Yeah. They went just a little wide, or they went into a defender.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm not souring on Polito. It was a disappointing game for multiple people. Pretty much for anybody not named Tim Melia, and I'm gonna maybe surprise a few people here. Graham Zusi. I thought Zusi had a fantastic game last night.
Yeah.
Um,
I think his last 2 games was pretty good.
yeah, well, I will say especially last night because he was going up against Adnan, who had moved up into the midfield for Vancouver in this game, and that was the first thing I saw, and I got worried thinking about Adnan running at Zuzi all game. But I mean, yes, the Vancouver's strategy going forward helped Zuzi stand out, but I mean, the thing that keeps going through my head, there was like a 5-minute stretch where actually it was probably less than that, where Zuzi played a great cross into the box. I think it was to Shelton, that Shelton ended up putting into the side netting or something. And then 2 minutes later, after Vancouver had gone down the field, Kansas City was attacking, and Russell puts the ball on a dime on Zuzi's foot in the box, and Zuzi had made a 60-yard run, brings it down marvelously, and in put a forced a nice save out of a Saul there. I looking at it on the replay, or originally I thought he should have looked across it. Looking on the replay, his shot was his best option because there was nobody in the middle of the box. But
Yeah.
I thought Zuzi had an absolutely fantastic game last night.
That was a tremendous cross-field pass, switching across to Zeus, and like you said, it was an amazing settle, ball control right there. That was,
I mean, if you look up crossfield ball in the dictionary, and that laser by Russell is right there, because that was, I mean, I'd be hard pressed to find another ball that good from that long.
that was definite proof of why those guys are there. It wasn't, can't find that proof in their scoring last night, but now, let's be fair, okay? I'm trying to always like see both sides of everything. Going into last night's game, they were still the highest scoring team in the tournament per, across all the games. They didn't give up any goals. They had lots of opportunities that a keeper basically had to stand on his head, and every guy on Vancouver stood in the box to block. Those are not always as easy to break down as we want them to be. Yes, we have a $9 million player. We have some quality that should have helped break it down. But it's not always, it's always easier to say that should have happened than to actually do it sometimes. Just like when a team goes man down, oh, you should score. Well, then they play a little bit differently. They went into that game knowing what they were going to do. They did that against Chicago, and they waited around, and they, coming out of the break, they caught them napping and scored 2 quick goals.
Yeah. No, and you're talking about Vancouver here.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Vancouver came out with a distinct game plan to sit back, pack the box, help their young goalkeeper as much as they could, and then try to find something something on the break. And
Yep.
you have to credit Dos Santos there, because I mean, they're missing what I think they said like 10 players due to injury and opting out of the tournament or leaving the bubble. So I mean, or injuries or what have you. But I mean, they came in with a game plan, and it worked against Chicago. And I mean, they had their chances to against Kansas City as well. I mean, I would, if that ball, the shot that deflected off the inside of Smith's foot and went like a foot wide of the post, I mean, that's one that you see, like, Melia would see that in his, probably saw that in nightmares last night after the game, just nightmares of it rolling into the net, because it completely wrong-footed everybody there.
Yeah. Personally, I think that from the moment it hit Smith's foot to the point that it went out of bounds outside the goal seemed like about 40 seconds to me, because it was like, okay, oh, this is when it's, you just knew that that's what was going to happen, and they were going to lose on something like that.
Yeah. No, I had made a comment during the second half. Well, basically all I did, what I posted, if you remember the 2017 game against Vancouver that Sporting lost 1-0 at Sporting Park, where they completely dominated the game. Rubio put a PK off the post, and then Eric Hurtado scored a goal completely against the run of play, and Vancouver won that game 1-0. And as the second half rolled on, that game just kept replaying in my head over and over again, expecting the same thing to happen here for Theo Bair to get some space between Punchik and Smith and beat Melia somehow. And I just kept waiting for that to happen.
Probably off a deflection or a weird bounce too.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think we all feared that. It got to like 75th minute last night, and I turned to my daughter. I'm like, here we go.
I mean, and the thing is, like, yes, last year we had that, and yes, we have a history of those sorts of issues, but we haven't. The team had done nothing this year to show that that was I mean, well, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
There was the Minnesota game, but they were down a man there, and so I mean,
In Colorado, they were up 2 men.
yeah,
Okay, there was that one. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have given us reason to doubt them in this tournament. I don't know. It they're just there's so much more attacking talent on this team
There is.
that even than 20 even more talent than in 2018 when they set the club record for goals. There's just so much more attacking talent, so much more depth to the attacking talent
It's like the
that
same attacking talent plus.
yes, exactly. There's just so much more attacking talent on this team that you would think that it it shouldn't happen like this. You shouldn't have a game where we have 37 shots and not a single one can make it into the back of the net, no matter who's playing in goal. You would think that a team with this level of talent would attacking talent would be able to get one. But I mean, well,
And honestly, it would have just taken one, and it probably would have opened up.
no, absolutely. You score one, and Vancouver's going to have to come out of their shell to try to find an equalizer, and that should, in theory, leave their defense more exposed and potentially find some holes with their young keeper, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I mean, the the expected goals for Sporting were like something like 3.5, I think,
Yeah.
3.6 or something like that. It
Yeah.
was
So like
just
3.4, 3.5. Yeah.
some crazy number that they couldn't even score one. They couldn't score one. It was again, I know we've had this throughout our history. We've had this since 2011. It seems like we always have those games, especially at home, where we have 25, 27, 24 shots, and we score maybe one goal. And it's I was hoping we were past those days a little bit where we only scored one goal.
Yeah. Me too. Um, I was definitely hoping that. I mean, those first 2 games of the year definitely gave the impression that they were going to score 3 goals a game, on the road or at home. Simpler times those were in so many
In
ways.
more ways than one.
Yeah. Yeah. We could talk to people. Um, yeah. What was possession? 63-37, rounding up. Um,
Yeah.
it,
I mean, yeah, it was a game where I I just kept waiting for the dam to break either way, basically. Because I mean, at the same time, if Vancouver scores, they would have seemed more likely to go get a second again on the counter because Kansas City would have pushed more numbers forward.
yeah. Now, now we've talked about Tim and being potentially the best penalty shot stopper of all time in MLS. Um, Once it went to penalty kicks, I was actually calmer, thinking, okay, it's still a crapshoot, right? It's still a little bit of a flip of a coin because there's lots of luck involved in this. But you feel a lot better when Timmy's there versus the kid who's made some great saves but doesn't have that experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, coming into the like last year, Melia saved 3 of his 4 penalty kicks that he had faced.
Yeah,
He had he had basically his first 2 years, 2015 and 2016. in all competitions, so including the shootout in 2017, I think he saved like 3 of 14 penalty kicks. In the counting last night, he has saved I believe it's 14 of the last whatever 41 minus 14 is. I can't do the math in my head. 27, maybe. He's saved 14 of the last 27 penalty kicks, basically. So he's saved over 50% of the penalty kicks that he's faced in league, in gameplay, and in shootouts. That is unprecedented
Yeah.
for a goalkeeper to be that good. And even the ones that he didn't save last night, he
He got a
the
touch
one
on
that
most
hit
of those.
the one that hit the post, he guessed the right way,
Yep.
and the one that went in, he got a touch on it.
Yep.
He is
He was
he
right
is
in every which one.
yeah, he's incredible at reading those penalty kicks. And the thing is, he does it, and he doesn't leave the line early. You see
No.
so many keepers that save penalty kicks leaving the line early. I freeze framed both of his saves, and under the rules, you only have to have 1 foot on the line anymore. He has 1 foot still on the line
Yeah.
when the ball's kicked. He's just already moving to stop the kick. He reads them so well.
I think he's part Jedi. He's actually telling them which way to go. Um, and you used the word earlier, unprecedented. We've used that a lot this year, but this was a positive, unprecedented. It was a
No,
good.
it absolutely was. He's just the. I mean, people love to talk about Ramondo's penalty kick ability,
He's
and
good.
no, he is absolutely good. It's just I look at it like they had posted when he retired at the end of the season. They said that he'd saved like 10 penalty kicks or something in league play, and the next closest had 5. And I went and looked it up, and it was Melia. And he or let me go back. Ramondo had made 10 penalty saves in the last decade, basically. So from 2010 to 2019, he made 10 penalty saves, and the next closest had 5. And like I said, the next closest was Melia, and he played half the decade.
Yeah.
So I mean, he in following that same line of following the line of thinking, he would have reached 10 if he'd have played over the same length of time as Romano did. I mean, yeah,
How many Ramondo has all time?
I would have to look that up. I keep KC stats that I don't keep Miami and DC and Salt Lake and
No, I don't expect that. I'm just saying we have to look it up. I was not like many other instances was I expecting you to just whip that out. Okay. No. I and again, all due respect to Ramondo, because he is one of the few keepers around the league that I would have actually liked to have had on Kansas City. I mean, this is not like against any other keeper that we had in Kansas City. He's just one that I always liked. Um, but yeah, there was I think it was last year, but it could have been the year before. But I think it was last year. Tim made a save on a PK, and after the game, I asked him the question: is there something you saw in what the shooter was doing that told you which way he was going? He goes, yes. I said, can you tell me what any of that was? No. I said, not even a clue? No. I said, okay, fair enough. So he's reading something. He knows he has he's done a study on it or whatever has happened, but he's very good at reading those guys.
yeah, I mean, you're taught as a goalkeeper, you watch the hips, you watch the you don't I mean, you don't necessarily want to watch the eyes, but there are instances where the eyes give it away, the body language gives it away. There's so many things that you're taught to watch for, but I mean, Tim just seems to take it to another level when I mean, I, part of me almost wants to go back and look at every penalty kick he's faced basically and try to just see how many he guesses wrong on, how many he gets the direction wrong on, because I would guess that it's not many.
No, I would bet of half of the ones that he didn't save, he still went the right way. I mean, so it's yeah, no, he's that going into penalties made me feel a little better, um, or a little more confident. But now, positive of that, Polito puts his home. Ilya had me a little worried because he was not as great last year as he should have been. Uh, Daniel, shall we still can't score?
I I'm not I'm slightly worried about Shalwi in terms of
Slightly.
confidence and play. I I mean, I had somebody ask me about it today and I was looking it up. He scored 6 goals as a 21-year-old who wasn't getting tons of time. And then he had his breakout year. And then he had last year where he was just incredibly snake bitten. I
Yep.
mean, it'd be one thing if he wasn't if his expected goals wasn't like I think it was like 6 or 7 last year was what his expected goals was supposed to be,
Yeah.
and he only had one. So in that case, I was willing to pass it off as snake bitten. And the
I
thing
want
is
to say the
when
previous year though his expected goals were 6 or 7, and he had
yeah,
12, or whatever it was. So I mean,
and that's
kind of
fair.
evened
So
out.
they evened out, but at the same time, I don't think he played badly last night when he came in. Yeah,
I thought he played
it wasn't
well.
a yeah, it wasn't it was a short appearance. I mean, it was 10 minutes plus stoppage time, so about 16ish minutes
Yeah.
when you factor all that in. So, I mean, I'd like to see him just get a goal just again to get that confidence up. I mean, it's not the Portland game last year where he did finally score was so long ago that I just would like to see him just knock something in, just confidence wise. But at the same time, he hasn't played a whole lot to get those chances. I mean,
No.
last night was by far his longest time on the field this season.
He's going to end up. I shouldn't say he's going to. He's potentially ending up being a victim of Corona also because he, if the season was regular, he'd have got probably 3 or 4 starts with Swopart, with SKC2, this so far this year because he wasn't getting as much time. He'd probably already had 3, 4, 6 maybe starts, and he would have poked a goal in against slightly lesser competition. Which once you score, it leads to something better. You know what I mean? But if he doesn't, I fear for him because I like him so much. I fear for him that if he doesn't score the rest of this year, he might not be around much longer. And
No
he,
no argument for me on that.
and like you said, he did play well last night. He made a couple of good plays. I think they played a ball to him where they were expecting him to be Shelton fast, and he's no, he's not close to that. So he
There
could,
was one where they thought where it would have taken a settle like what Zuzi did on the cross from Russell.
yeah,
There was a cross that if he'd have been able to bring it down perfectly like Zuzi had, he would have had a really good chance at goal. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm not even professional athletes. I'm not expecting to control that way 100% of the time. So that I'm not faulting him for.
no. Um, so I mean, overall, I thought he played well. He really needed to score on that penalty.
Yeah.
Um, and it wasn't even a like high quality, you know, shot that the keeper made a spectacular move. It was, not that far away from the keeper. Polito's scared me a lot though because it was so close down the middle. I felt like when the keeper went down, he could have stuck a leg out and still blocked it.
Yeah, but that's that style of penalty kick. You get the keeper leaning and he's committed so much that he can't make the correction to even get a foot out at it.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about the game quite a bit. Good, bad. I mean, lots of people played well, just can't finish. Um, Next game is Philadelphia Thursday night. what do they need to do? And don't give me something simple like score, because I know you were going to. What do they need to do to move on?
Besides score,
I said that, Mike.
I mean, the I'd like to see fewer hopeful crosses. I mean, there's been a lot of there were a lot of just cross and hopes going on in the game last night. I'd like to see a bit more committed buildup, and maybe with a team that's going to attack more, you're going to get that. But it'll be it I don't know. It's just, yeah, I want to see fewer crosses, and I'd like to see a bit different buildup, because Philadelphia's going to be a different team than the last two teams Sporting has played. I mean, if you think about it, Vancouver didn't really come out of their shell, and they didn't really attack a whole lot in their game against Sporting. And if you even go back to the Salt Lake game, I mean, there wasn't a lot of attack there either. And Salt Lake was missing one of their two best attacking players in Rusnak for that game. So, I mean, you've had two games in a row now where arguably the opposition has not been A, at full strength, and B, attacking purposeful.
Yeah.
And now you're facing a Philadelphia team that, I mean, they scored they scored 4 goals in the group stage, and then they beat New England 1-0. I'm you gotta you can't let Philadelphia have the same chances that you let Vancouver have last night.
At the same time, they're still not the most scary attacking team in the world.
They scare me more than Vancouver did, and they scare me more than Salt Lake does without Rusnak on the field.
Completely agreeing. Completely agreeing. Just saying that that's not like they're the LAFC, at full strength type of team either. So
No, they're not. But they do have. I mean, I'm going to butcher his name, even though we talked about it beforehand. Shabilko, the Kasper Shabilko, is of the looking at Salt Lake, Vancouver, and Philadelphia. He scares me more than anybody else on that team, on either of those two teams did, attacking wise, heading into this game. Now, he to also point out, he did limp off injured against New England. So there's the possibility that he may not even be on the field on Thursday night. I haven't seen anything else with regards to that injury as of the time we're recording this, so I don't know how healthy he is, but he did limp off. But he's a guy that does scare me because of how talented he is.
yeah, and just because of it being in the bubble and how it is, there's very little opportunity to ask how injuries and health is for players. So we probably wouldn't have heard anything by now. Um, they'll probably have some kind of they'll have media availability for Sporting tomorrow, which is Tuesday. But they won't know that. So
Yeah. So
might be
but
different point.
presumably Philadelphia will have some kind of media availability. So I'm sure I'm sure any media availability I'll see from either our SB Nation partner, Brotherly Game, or
Yeah,
somebody else that covers the union. I'm sure I'll see quotes from Curtin with regards to how Shabilko is.
I might actually have to see if I can sneak in on their press conference. Um, That's been the interesting thing with the way this is, Nick. I can actually get on press conferences of other teams. Not that I'm going to ask questions, I'm just listening, but see if they have media that asks as dumb questions as we do. Not pointing out any names. Um, no, I do think that the offense will be better in this game because they will have more openings because there's not going to be 10 guys in the box kind of scenario. And, and Dos Santos knows Sporting so well and Vermees so well. So he had those guys ready of knowing what to do. Plus, they basically had to just keep playing the same way they played against Chicago. So that was so against Philly. Yes, they are a much better team, at least attacking wise, than the last two, potentially if everybody's healthy. But they're still not a team that exactly would scare me going into the game.
I don't know. For me, they were arguably one of the pre-tournament favorites in my mind. They're I will say Jim Curtin has done a great job of building a team that works within Philadelphia is not a small market, but they kind of build like a small market team.
Yeah.
And I think the only team that's done better homegrown player wise than Philadelphia may be Dallas. Philadelphia does a really good job of getting their homegrown players on the field and having them be contributors to the team. I mean, Aronson looks really good out there. He's one that'll cause Kansas City trouble on Thursday night. Then their back line, I think most of their back line is homegrown players now as well. So I mean, Curtin has done a good job of building through their academy and picking up pieces that like Shabilko that help fill the holes in their attack. So I like what Curtin's done with their teams. So it'll be interesting and fun to watch. I said after the group stage, anything after the group stage for me was bonus points.
Yeah.
I'm if they're still looking to have a league season, getting 6 of 9 points and having 12 of 15 in the league season so far is fantastic, especially if they're only going to do a 23 game season, I think is what the reports were.
Yep.
So, I mean, basically Sporting would have to average fewer points than what they averaged last year in a bad season, and they still may make the playoffs just by averaging 1 point a game the rest of the way. So, league wise, that was always where I was looking at. Anything else in this tournament is great. Would I love to see him win it? Sure, I'd enjoy that. I'd enjoy the trophy. I guess they'd paint the wall for that, maybe, possibly.
Or at least a trophy case.
Yeah, I'm sure the players that 1.1 million I think was the prize pool or something like that. I'm sure they really want that. But for me, if they lose to Philadelphia, it's like, sure, we got 6 to 9 points, and we're assuming we have a league season after this. We're in good shape going forward.
Yeah. Now I know Peter will want to win, but I think the more important thing is that he is going to continue to get his team more experience. These are like the preseason games almost now for him because they don't matter in league play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he'll continue to maybe shift guys around a little bit more than he would in a regular league game because I don't know. I know he'll want to win, but I know that may not be quite as the most important thing too. So it's there's no way to tell with Peter on that regard. He wants to win every single game they play. So I've only seen him throw the towel in, I think, in one game since he's been there.
I think there was an Open Cup game where at home, I want to say maybe it was the Orlando game that they lost. where I think Carey did most of the coaching, and PV just sat there the whole game.
Yeah. Well, though actually the one I think he threw in the towel was it? It was Champions League or whatever it was, where they got screwed on the draw, and Vancouver, and they had to go from like Vancouver to somewhere in Central America and back again.
It was Trinidad. It was we played somewhere, we went to Trinidad, we went somewhere else, we went to Vancouver.
It was
or it was like we were home, went to Central FC in Trinidad, played an away game in league, and then went to Vancouver or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to go pull my
there
schedule.
was something very weird about how much travel they had to do, and they petitioned to have like a game switched because it would have made less travel for them, and it would not have harmed the other team that they were playing. And they said no. So when they said no, Peter sent the second team essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I know what game you're referring to now. Yeah. Honestly, that entire Champions League run was more or less with the second team, because that was the first year of the Rangers, and while FA got 2 games in that tournament, Amir Didic got his first 2 games with the club. Then there was a Central FC game that didn't mean anything, where Selbel got a game, Granito got a game, a bunch of guys who basically half the roster was Swope Park Rangers players, which were set to play in the USL Championship game on the weekend.
So he basically just threw those games away, which I don't blame him because they were not helping him out there.
And to go back, and that's the other thing where I don't mind not making the Champions League. I know it's supposed to be the big thing, but after seeing what it did to us in 2019, I'm not super excited to go play it again, I guess would be a good way of putting it.
I do think that if they play it again, it'll be a little bit different. He will sacrifice a couple of league games to do better at it. And
are you going to say the R word that that people like to say that Vermes doesn't know?
No, because honestly, we could go back and make an argument on the players and the days and the travel and all that type of stuff. And I think there was one game where he needed to probably do more rotation, but a lot of fans like, oh, he needed to rotate here, he needed to rotate there, he needed to rotate there. I'm not. I think there was one game where he could have probably switched a few guys out, but you still ran into a Monterey team that was vastly better. The rotation at that point didn't matter, quite honestly.
No, it didn't. And that the Monterey game, it's less about looking at that and more about looking at the tournament as a whole. And as you said, not rotating a guy here or there that would have probably given us fresher legs at a later point in the league, basically.
But
anyway,
I still don't even think that was the problem. I think it was the mental. Once you got destroyed, they didn't recover. So, and I think that led to the problems the rest of the year. Tired legs were there, but they rested some guys at different points. So we could go way more in depth about that, but we've probably talked about it 100 times now. All right, so wrapping up, what's your prediction for Thursday? You care? You want to make a prediction?
I don't really want to make a prediction at this point. I've made my opinion that I'm happy with where Sporting's at this point. If they win, great, fantastic. I'll be ready for the semifinal. If they lose, I'll just drink some beer and enjoy the rest of the tournament without Sporting in it and watch as a spectator, basically.
There have been some fun games.
It has been. The knockout round up until tonight has been a little bit little tight, I guess would be a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I won't spoil tonight's game, the final of tonight's game, although you'll have this posted after it's done. So, I mean, San Jose put a 5 spot on Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that game I didn't get to watch all of it. I'll pull it up here after we're done. But the late night game tonight, which I'll probably fall asleep because I was up till 1 after sporting, but the late game looks exciting. But the group stage as a whole, I thought was a lot of fun. I mean, it's been exciting when pretty much you have a lot of people now thinking that it should become some sort of yearly competitive tournament for the league to have the MLS's back tournament, maybe as a neutral site competitive preseason games.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm on board with that. I'd need to see what they plan to do with it, how they would set it up. I don't love the idea of a preseason tournament becoming competitive in terms of like a Champions League spot, but I'd be interested to hear ideas and arguments for it. Let's just put it that way.
I've actually talked about that too. Is that I think it's kind of fun, and I wouldn't mind there being a season opening tournament. Yeah, there would still need to be worked out how that would affect whatever else. But long term, it was kind of fun to have this little compressed little tournament, and I'll probably watch it through the end even if Sporting goes out. I was watching. It's just been good to have any soccer that I cared about and knew like who the teams were.
Or at least something in the evenings to watch soccer related.
Yeah, I've been okay having breakfast and watching it too. That's what if we do a season opening tournament in the future, they should play them all in the morning.
It'll get us back in World Cup shape.
Yeah. All right. Definitely not strictly sporting related because you and I don't always just talk sporting. Congrats to the Houston Dash and all of their Kansas City women.
Yes, definitely. I watched most of the final. I had to skip out to run an errand, but yes, congrats to Haley Hansen, Shea Groom, Megan Kelly, and Cece Kaiser,
Yes.
the 4 girls from Kansas City, 2 of whom played with FC Kansas City for a while.
And also former FCKC girl, Christy Mewitz.
Yes, she was on Houston as well. So congrats to them for winning the NWSL Challenge Cup, especially Shea Groom, who I don't think you could say breakout star, but comeback would be a good way of putting it because she didn't really have a bad season with the Reign last year, but she's really had a really, really strong tournament. Which I think was shown by the fact that she was A, named to the best 11 for the tournament, and B, was named the MVP of the final. So,
right.
I mean, she had a fantastic tournament for the Dash.
Three goals and an assist or 2.
Did she have 3 or 4 goals? I thought she had 4. She had.
It was 3.
I thought, yeah.
2 in
whatever.
the group play and then 1 in the final.
Okay.
And because the Golden Boot actually went to her teammate Rachel Daly, who won the Golden Boot based upon 1 more assist than the other 2. There's 2 others that had tied.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll trust you on that one. I for some reason thought she had 3 already, but it's probably just 3 counting the final. So.
Yeah. But she had some strong play and combined well with Daly, and no, she's one of those. I think on the right team, she can do fantastic.
No, absolutely. I mean, I watched some of her with Sky Blue, and she just kind of looked. I guess lost would be a good way of putting it. But that was when Sky Blue didn't win until their last game of the season. So
Sky Blue is usually bad. So
yeah, and then like I said,
Houston.
Yeah, I don't know. I will agree with you that I think she's in a good system now that plays to her strengths, and I mean I think she showed well in the tournament in that regard.
and one of the things I like is that when she was with the Reign, there was still a fair amount of superstars. But with Houston, Daly's kind of the closest thing they have to a superstar at this point. You know, she's an English national team player, so it's not like she's going to get bumped aside for a name player right now. You know what I mean? So she can just play.
Yeah, no, she, yeah, I think I remember hearing during the broadcast that Houston had no U.S. Women's World Cup players on it for the
No,
tournament.
um, that was one of the other things with the tournament that I actually kind of liked. I mean, at first it annoyed me that so many of them dropped out for various reasons. Some played, some didn't. Um, but in the end, I kind of liked it because all these other women got a chance to shine.
Well, and on that same note, another Kansas City woman who I thought did really well in the tournament was Addison Merrick for North Carolina.
Yeah,
I thought she had a really good tournament as outside back for the Courage as well. So I mean, there's there's definitely talent in Kansas City for women's soccer. So I mean, you have, I think there were 7 women, I think, in the tournament. Bailey with Washington, the 4 Dash girls, Merrick, and then Miramontes, who did not play for North
yeah,
Carolina, the younger Miramontes.
right. And there's several that if there was a team here might be playing.
Yeah,
A couple at least. Let's put that.
yeah, definitely. So it's one of those things where I personally regret not going to more FCKC games. It just became a scheduling conflict in my life that I couldn't handle making more games. But if by some chance they could get a women's soccer team, I would make my best efforts to make more games than I did with FCKC.
There, there was a commercial that played during the final. I don't know if you saw it, but it was women from around the league saying about how women's sports only gets 4% of coverage on the media. Now we need to double that so we can get fair coverage. And I went, my and first I like, yeah, that would be great. I said because I've on the flip side of that, I've always tried to give women sports in Kansas City, the soccer obviously, as much coverage as I can, and sometimes I would cover them over sporting just because they needed to have some kind of coverage, right? But at the same time, I was thinking, okay, now you need to get people to go to the game. That's the bigger part. I mean, if more people go, the more it'll be covered. Um, and it used to tick me off that I would see women complain about FC Kansas City not getting coverage or not getting money or not getting support when they're standing in the cauldron at a Sporting Kansas City game, but I never saw them at an FC Kansas City game. I don't know how to solve that problem. I'm not saying women have to go to all women's sports and men go to men's sports. Not.
No, well, and it's not just women saying it. I've
No.
run into plenty of men who are or were frustrated. The comments usually come out around the time that ratings come out, and like the Women's World Cup, Kansas City was at the top of ratings pretty much for most of the U.S. women's games.
Yeah.
They were at the top for the game that was on CBS. Kansas City was one of the top markets for the opener of the tournament. Um, and you see people who ask, where's the women's team? Why is Sporting not adding a women's team? And I see some of those people doing it. Some of them I know were season ticket holders for FCKC or were regular attendees at games. Many of them, though, I would be shocked if they attended a single one of the FCKC games. So, I mean, it's I love the enthusiasm for it. I would just hope that those that want it would actually back it up with their money if something like that were to return to Kansas City.
And that's what it always comes down to: is somebody backing it with their own personal money. Like you can say that, well, this billionaire needs to spend money for something that I want to have happen, but not that I'll go a lot, but I wanted them to spend their money. I'm always hesitant to tell people how to spend their money, but if you want it, then you need to support it. And that's what irritated me, because I saw tons of people saying it that I never saw there. Anyway, soapbox done, hopefully.
One last time's congrats to the Dash and the 4 KC girls for winning the tournament. It was a lot of fun to watch the final and the celebrations after, just how happy the entire team appeared to be.
Yeah, that was a team that needed something positive. They've not been a good team, so having that positive can hopefully help them build. Um, absolutely, and yeah. Plus, there was a lot of other good games and storylines that we didn't cover because we didn't have a necessarily rooting interest in it.
Yep.
Damn it. Anyway, have a good night, Mike. Is there any final words you want to throw out there?
No.
No problem. Hopefully, I'll have some other interviews up in the near future, and might even have another one coming up in the next couple days with some of the others from the Blue Testament to talk about the upcoming game. But until then, thanks for being here, and I don't have a really cool sign off, so see y'all later.
Have a good one.